Hey guys, it's Dan, your host of your Dan's Reviews, and today I'm back for another Walking Dead video for today. And in today's video, we're going to be doing our top 25 favorite episodes of the entire Walking Dead series, and we're going to be ranking what are our favorite episodes now that the show is over. Alright guys, this one's going to be doing another video for today. This one's going to be doing another video for The Walking Dead. And in today's video, we're here back for another ranking video. This one's a pretty freaking lengthy one too. It took me a little bit to put this one together because I just, there's so many episodes of The Walking Dead. It's really hard to combine it into a video like this. But we did it. We're going to do the top 25 episodes of The Walking Dead throughout the entire series now that the main show is over. So I hope you're ready. Get a snack, get a drink. You're probably going to be here for a little while, so definitely sit back and enjoy this because this ranking is definitely going to be a longer one. So make sure to keep in mind as well too before we get into this video, for all those judgy people, that this is my opinion. This is my opinion on the show, not yours. So make sure to keep that in mind as well too. But anyway, without all that crap out of the way, let's get into this ranking. Let's get into the top 25 episodes of The Walking Dead. Starting off with some honorable mentions, we're going to run through a few that didn't quite make the list, but were definitely very close. We have Vatos, Season 1, Episode 4. We have Pretty Much Dead Already, Season 2, Episode 7. We've got Home, Season 3, Episode 10. We've got Interment, Season 4, Episode 5. We've got Conquer, Season 5, Episode 16. We have Thank You, Season 6, Episode 3. We have Season 7, Episode 16, The First Day of the Rest of Your Life. We have Season 8, Episode 14, Still Gotta Mean Something. We have Season 9, Episode 1, A New Beginning. We have Season 10, Episode 7, Open Your Eyes, and we have Season 11, Episode 23, Family. So, these are ones that were really good, really fantastic episodes, just didn't quite make the list for this one, but now with all that out of the way, let's get into the actual top 25. So starting off with number 25 is going to be The Walking Dead Season 8, Episode 12. This one is called The Key. So, this is definitely my favorite episode of The Walking Dead Season 8. A very controversial season for sure, but if there was one episode that I definitely wanted to put on this list, it is definitely this one. I love the fight between Negan and Rick. I love their fight back and forth, and I really enjoy as well too even the B plot in this episode as well, with Georgie and kind of setting up for some of the New Beginning stuff in Season 9. I thought the episode had a really good vibe to it, and it was the one time in Season 8 where I actually felt like the writing was good. The writing was well done, and I think they did a relatively good job on this episode. Number 24 is going to be The Walking Dead Season 3, Episode 15, titled This Sorrowful Life. Now, this episode was super special. This is the final episode for Merle ever in The Walking Dead show, and I thought it was executed very well. I love his sacrifice. I love the way he goes out fighting, and when Daryl finds him zombified like that, it was just so crushing to see. Definitely an episode worth mentioning, and definitely an episode worth putting in this list for sure. I just love Merle. I love the character, and I think his ending was so amazing. Number 23 is going to be Clear, Season 3, Episode 12. Now, this episode was really good because at the time, this was the second episode of Morgan in the series, and we didn't really know if we were going to see him again. And the acting from Lenny James, I mean, as usual, but the story about Dwayne, the story about what happened, and a lot of people like to say that Dwayne is still alive. I call bullshit on that, and especially because it would ruin the amazingness of this episode. I just love it. I love the Rick, Michonne, and Carl trio as well. Really like that. Michonne kind of proves herself to the group a little bit more in this episode, and I thought Morgan and all of his scenes with Rick were just so memorable and so incredibly done. Number 22 is going to be The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 15. This one is The Calm Before. I really enjoyed the episode a lot. Now, this episode, admittedly, I do think suffers with the Pike deaths in terms of who they picked, but everything else in this episode was incredible, and it's still worthy of at least being in a top 20, because I love the execution of the episode. I love what they did with the whispers in this one, and I still think, even though I don't agree with some of the choices of the heads on Pikes, the way they executed it with the music and everything like that, was spectacular. And, even the stuff before at the fair and the way they set everything up, it was brilliantly done. I just don't agree with certain choices on the Pikes, but it was a very, very impactful episode and definitely a great episode for the Whisperers in the show. Number 21 is going to be Season 10, Episode 10. This one is Stalker. Criminally underrated episode of The Walking Dead, if you ask me. I love Beta, and I love what he does in this episode, going into Alexandria the way he did. And in addition, you have the craziness of Alexandria and the battle going on there, but you've also got amazing scenes with Gabriel, amazing scenes with Judith, and I love the fight between Daryl and Alpha. Such a exciting confrontation and such an amazing war episode, if you ask me. This is truly the first Whisper War episode in the show, in my opinion, and I thought it was executed perfectly. I thought they did an amazing job with this episode. Coming in at number 20 is going to be The Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 2, called JSS. Now, this was a spectacular battle episode, again, in Alexandria. I think Carol was an absolute badass in this episode. The way she took over, disguised herself as a wolf and stuff, and the action was incredible. I mean, there was blood, there was all kinds of tension in this episode. In addition, we also saw the introduction to Denise, and we saw Morgan, who I thought was excellent in this episode as well, too. This episode had everything you'd want in terms of a battle episode, and I think it's definitely a go-to for me. If I want to watch a really exciting battle in The Walking Dead show, this is easily one of the episodes I turn on, because it's such a darn good episode. Number 19 is going to be Season 9, Episode 8. This one is Evolution. This is probably one of the creepiest episodes of The Walking Dead I've ever seen. I love the introduction to the Whisperers, and the death of Jesus in this episode, too, was very, very surprising. And the way they did it, I thought was really, really clever, because they kind of make you wonder throughout the whole episode what exactly is going on. And you get that reveal, and it's so, so scary. Definitely one of the most memorable episodes of The Walking Dead, and an incredible introduction for the Whisperers, which, if you don't know, the Whisperers, in my opinion, are the best group of villains we've ever seen in The Walking Dead. I think individual villains we've had better, but in terms of a imposing threat, I think the Whisperers are easily the best one we had, and in particular because of the kind of introduction they had. I mean, it was so freaky, and it was so exciting seeing them kind of come in like that. I had to definitely put this one on the list. Number 18 is going to be Season 6, Episode 12. This one is Not Tomorrow Yet. This is the battle at the satellite station where our characters kind of go in and slit characters' throats. Which is a very dark in concept type episode, but it was really well done. The action is one of the best ever, I think, and in terms of the character moments and kind of them struggling with should we or shouldn't we, and then, you got Glenn, and he's struggling because he's never killed anybody before, and they even kind of set up an exciting cliffhanger at the end, too, with Maggie and Carol being captured, and it's a really exciting episode all the way through. I really, really enjoyed it a lot. Coming in at number 17 is going to be The Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 3, Four Walls and a Roof. Now, this was a super climactic episode of the series. This was such a shocker when I first watched it, too, because I kind of thought that the Hunters would go on and Garrett's group would go on for a while, but no, they had a massacre in this one. And in addition, we also had Bob's death in this episode, which I thought was really, really crazy as well. But it was such an amazing episode. Rick was such an amazing leader in this one. And the way they did it, and the way Rick and them just totally got their revenge back on them, is easily one of the best moments and one of the best episodes of The Walking Dead ever. It was so, so incredible. And the only minor little nitpick I would even add to this one is Tyrese telling Sasha that she should forgive Gareth for what he's doing. That was odd. To be honest, I would have moved it higher if it wasn't for that. But either way, it's still an incredible episode, and I love how they did it. I thought it was a great episode for sure. Number 16 is going to be Season 10, Episode 22, Here's Negan. So, I love this episode. I really, really do. I don't agree when a lot of people say it's worthy of a top 10. I don't know if it's that good, but it's definitely in a top 15, top 20 for sure. And in this case, number 16. I really love the backstory for Negan's character. I love it. I love the bond he had with Lucille. Also, the fact that Hillary Burton, who is his real wife, plays his wife in this. I thought that was really cool. And it helps for the on-screen chemistry, right? And I think what they did with Negan, him versus those bikers and stuff, and the way he kind of lets his old life go when he loses Lucille in the current timeline, I thought was incredible. I thought the way they did this episode was really brilliant, and I think it was definitely a well thought out episode for sure. They did an incredible job with this episode, basically all the way through. Coming in at number 15 is going to be season 7, episode 13, Bury Me Here. Now, this is an incredible episode for Morgan and just for the overall series. I loved this episode so much. I mean, we see Morgan come back, right, to the killing side of things, preparing himself for the war. He finally informs Carol on what happened in Alexandria. We get the death of Benjamin, which I thought was so gruesome, and the death of Richard, man. I mean, oh my god. One of the most incredible Morgan episodes I think we've ever gotten. Probably, I would argue, Morgan's best episode on the main Walking Dead. It was so amazingly done. You're in the middle of this rut right now, if you ask me, in season 7, where you've got all these slow bottle episodes, and then you hit this episode, and it hits you like a ton of bricks. I mean, it was such an incredible episode in the way they did it, and I have nothing but respect for Lenny James as an actor and the episode itself. It was really amazing. Number 14 is going to be season 11, episode 9, No Other Way. So, yeah, here is a final episode or final season episode on the list. I had to put this episode in this list, and it made it into a top 15 because I love. Okay, let me specify. I don't love the Reaper arc. I really don't. I think it's a terrible arc, and I think they really screwed up with it big time. But this episode with the fight scenes and Gabriel and what they gave him in this one, like the Call Me Gabriel line, the Maggie character in this one, Maggie was excellent in this one. You had everybody on the top of their game, I would say, and you had a really strong conclusion to the Reaper arc. Aside from Leah, you had a really strong conclusion to that arc. And I just loved it so much. From the music to the directing to the battles. I mean, everything was perfect in this episode, if you ask me. Everything was perfect, and one of the best episodes we've had in a long time, if you ask me. This was an incredible episode of the series. Number 13 is going to be episode 4 of season 3, Killer Within. Now, this episode right here really hits hard compared to a lot of other episodes. This is one of the most emotional episodes on TV, and that says something because I was never a big Laurie fan. But the way they executed this episode and Rick's reaction at the end, I mean, they really, really did an amazing job. Despite what other kind of memes there is now of him crying like that, it was still, itself was a great episode. And, I, for one, thoroughly enjoyed it. And we also had the death of T-Dog in this episode, right? Because he saves Carol, and, he had his death in this one, too. So, definitely one worth putting on the list, in my opinion. Number 12 is going to be Season 7, Episode 1, The Day Will Come When You Won't Be. This episode right here, I mean, talk about a time for The Walking Dead when everyone was talking about the show. And unlike what a lot of people say, and a lot of people left the show, and a lot of people didn't want anything to do with The Walking Dead after this one, I think it paid off. I really do. I think the episode paid off, and I love the way they did it. I love the death of Glenn, very comic accurate. Throwing in Abraham in there as well, too. Would I have liked to see Abraham survive? Absolutely. But, I mean, suck my nuts. I mean, you can't ask for a better death than that. You know what I mean? Like, it's a really fantastic episode, and I think, for one, they did a great job with Rick. I love how scared he really becomes throughout the episode. Negan kind of breaks him down as you watch the episode, and it's incredible the way they did it. It was absolutely incredible. Number 11 is going to be Season 10, Episode 16. This one is A Certain Doom. I love this finale so much. I mean, the final battle with Beta was one of the best battles I've ever seen. The fight with Negan, though I wish it would have lasted longer, I mean, basically everything else was amazing. The return of Maggie, Gabriel was an absolute gangster. The music, the scene where they're throwing the walkers over this huge quarry and stuff, I mean, it was such a great episode. And in addition, you also had the introduction to the Commonwealth, which I thought was so well done. As you get their theme booting up and the soldiers surround everybody, I mean, it was such an incredible episode of the show and one of the best Walking Dead episodes of all time. But it did not make the top 10, so let's get into that top 10. Number 10, Season 6, Episode 16, Last Day on Earth. Now, I'm sure people are gonna freak out at me for this one because every time this episode is talked about, everybody's like, "Oh my god, the cliffhanger! The cliffhanger was so bad. The cliffhanger was terrible. It ruined everything. It ruined the whole freaking season." I mean, I've heard the craziest shit about this, but in my opinion, this was one of the scariest, most incredible, most just intriguing. I mean, there's so many words to describe this episode. I love the episode from the beginning to end. I love the introduction to Negan. I love the casting for Jeffrey D. Morgan. I love seeing Rick and the rest of them having to surrender in the way they did and the way they played it out was so incredible. And the actors so much pull you into that moment. I mean, Andrew Lincoln and the way he looks in this episode was like, oh my god, like we're screwed. And I'm a defender of the cliffhanger. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people are about to friggin' attack me for that, but I understand it. You want to build views for the next season. And, in my opinion, they did their job because guess what? That cliffhanger brought the highest amount of views in an episode of The Walking Dead that we ever got. So when you want to judge the cliffhanger, just also keep in mind the amount of viewers they got for that season 7 premiere. So I thought it was brilliant, to be honest, because the whole summer everybody was asking, everybody was wondering, who did Negan kill? And it's one of the most nostalgic episodes of a TV show ever, this episode, And I loved it. Morgan kills again, too, saves Carol's life. I mean, this episode had it all, if you ask me, and it really was a well-done episode, in my opinion. Number 9 is going to go back to the old classic, The Walking Dead Season 1, Episode 1, Days Gone By. Now, this one still makes it into a top 10. This episode means so much to me because it is the first episode of The Walking Dead show. Not even just because it's the first and it's the first, so I have to put it there, that type of thing. No, this episode was so well executed. It's like over an hour long, too. It's like a friggin' movie. And, I love the story of the man trying to find his family. There's something so captivating about that. It is incredible. And I love the episode. I love the Morgan character. I love the addition of Dwayne. I love, all the stuff there. And I love what they did with Rick and the hospital scene and the scenery there and how they completely capture you in to what an apocalypse would actually be like, And no other TV show has done it like this. This episode, no other TV show has done it like this. And for that, it still has to be in a top 10. Number 8 is going to be Season 2, Episode 13, Beside the Dying Fire. Now, this episode right here, I just absolutely love. I mean, it's one of my all-time favorite finale episodes of The Walking Dead ever. The burning of the farm, the battle on the farm, and that's like half the episode. The other half of the episode, you set up Michonne's character. You set up the prison at the end. You have this amazing scene with Rick, just completely telling the group, this is what we're doing. This is what it is, you can live with it or you can leave, right? And it was an incredible episode. The way they did it was so good, and there were so many callbacks in this episode, and in my opinion, this was the first episode where we really solidified that Rick is a badass leader. Rick is the leader of this group, and I mean, it was so well executed. Number 7 is going to be Season 2, Episode 12, the one right before. This one is Better Angels. So, this one right here, I mean, talk about a incredible penultimate episode to set up a finale. The death of Shane and that kill is easily, I would say, one of the best moments of this entire show. That scene in the field and the way it was filmed, and John Bernthal and Andrew Lincoln, I mean, it was so good. And in addition to everything else before that, too, like we had the Rick and Carl moment where he gives him the gun, which therefore is used later on in the episode. And there were a lot of moments in this episode that really just gave me chills, I mean, he kills Randall, Daryl and Glenn find him after, and they kind of start to figure out what's going on, but it's way too late already. So, yeah, very, very awesome episode, very awesome kind of farewell episode to Shane, and still one of the best episodes of this entire show. Coming in at number 6 is going to be The Walking Dead Season 4, Episode 8, Too Far Gone. So, yes, this is easily one of the most incredible episodes of The Walking Dead. I know this is a major fan favorite. I don't think it's a top 5 episode, but I definitely think it's a top 10 episode. The battle for the prison and the end of the governor and the death of Herschel, and I mean, I could ramble on about this episode forever, but It is so amazing the way they did it. And the final fight with the governor is 10 times better than I thought it would have been. And in my opinion, it's 10 times better than the comics, right? They added so much into the show. The only thing I feel like they did better in the comics was that there were more deaths. But in terms of the battle and seeing the actors playing it out, I mean, wow, such an amazing episode. Such an incredible episode. Number 5 is going to be Season 4, Episode 16. This one is A. I think this is the best season finale of The Walking Dead ever, minus another one that we're going to put in the list later on. Every time I hear people talk about Season 4, it's always Too Far Gone, or Interment, or The Grove. Like, I never hear about this episode, and I'll never understand. This, in my opinion, is probably the most underrated Walking Dead episode of all time. I mean, it's so incredible. And maybe I'm a little biased because Rick is my favorite character, and in my opinion, this is probably like one of Rick's best episodes. But seriously though, like the Claimer stuff was so good. The flashbacks of the prison and the way they connect to what's going on now is so good. You know, like, Carl, leave the gun behind. It'll just get in the way. But, you know, you see Carl with the gun, right? I mean, it's so good. And the introduction to Terminus and finding out what their true intentions are in this one was so intense. And the cliffhanger in this one, in my opinion, is the best. I'm not even exaggerating when I say this. It's the best Walking Dead cliffhanger I've ever watched, and probably my favorite cliffhanger of television. They're screwing with the wrong people, and they friggin' leave you there. I mean, that was such... I remember, because I was watching it live at the time, I remember what that wait was like for Season 5. I remember what that feeling was like. And I'm actually curious to know if anybody else was watching the show at the time and how you felt with that cliffhanger. Because I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was an incredible cliffhanger and really, really set up Season 5 well. Speaking of Season 5, number 4 is going to be Season 5, Episode 1, the one right after, No Sanctuary. Holy fuck. Excuse my language. We're getting to the top ones now. I'm going to start saying fuck, okay? So, this was a incredible episode. I love this episode. We saw Carol be absolutely Rambo in this one. Probably her best episode of the entire show. And we got the return of Morgan. We had the destruction of Terminus. Rick was an absolute badass once again. We had the slitting throat scene, which arguably is one of the most gruesome scenes of The Walking Dead ever. That was just insane. And we had Martin and Tyrese, which I thought was so exciting as Tyrese beat the shit out of him. I wished he would have killed him, but still, really exciting scene. And we had the family reunions with, like, Daryl and Carol, and, like, with Rick and Judith. And, yeah, this episode, it was just a freaking amazing episode. And, in my opinion, definitely the best premiere Walking Dead has ever done. Without a doubt. This was such an incredible episode. Number 3 is going to be No Way Out. I really love this episode. No Way Out was one hell of an episode. I mean, it was one hell of a memorable episode of The Walking Dead, and I still cannot believe just how incredible it was, you know? I mean, Daryl with the rocket launcher, the zombies, everything else. I mean, it was so well done, and honestly, the way they did it was so great. And the death of the Anderson family, and what happened to Jesse, and what they did to Ron and Sam, and, you know, them kind of coming in and saving the day later on with Daryl's crew, I thought was just, it was incredible. It was one of the best episodes The Walking Dead ever put out. Number 2 is going to be The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 24, Rest in Peace. Now, this one is probably about to catch a lot of people by surprise, but this is why this one's at number 2. It actually was my favorite for a bit there, but now that recency bias has died down a little bit, I'll say it makes it at least to number 2. I cannot think of one thing I don't like from this episode. Seriously. They ended the show in a phenomenal way. The battle with the walkers was incredible. The callbacks were out of this world. I'm not even going to go into them because there's so many. But the callbacks were incredible. And the deaths were great. Rosita's death really hit hard. And the Luke and Jules deaths were so gruesome and so emotional at the same time, especially Luke's. And the way they did the episode with the music and, you know, kind of lightly setting things up. And then most importantly, we had the return of Rick fucking Grimes. I mean, and I love it, man. The way the show starts. The show begins with Rick looking for his family, and the show ends with Rick looking for his family. And you could also say, in a way, that now, at the beginning of the show, he was looking for his family, and at the end of the show, they're in a way also looking for him, right? Like with Michonne and Daryl and stuff. So I love the way that comes together. And the final shot of him standing in front of the city, too, and how that kind of parallels season 1, I mean, I'm floored by that episode. I am floored by that episode, but good enough to set up the Rick show, right? Because we have to obviously do that too. And, well, number 1, my all-time favorite episode of The Walking Dead, easily the best episode of the series, is going to be The Walking Dead, Season 4, Episode 12, Still. I'm kidding, I'm friggin' with you guys. My favorite episode is going to be The Walking Dead, Season 9, Episode 5. Oh, man. Rick's final episode. You had to know this would be my favorite. I mean, the return of Shane, the return of Herschel, rest in peace to Scott Wilson too, like literally passing like a couple months after filming that scene, and the parallels to the cover of issue 100 with the dead bodies and stuff, and just everything, man. Them telling him to wake up, them helping him through the journey, and, you know, sending him off, Rick surviving after all, and getting this major time jump with Judith. I mean, this episode, it's easily my favorite episode of television, just because I was never so nervous for a character in all my life. I was never so nervous for an episode of anything in all my life. And it paid off in an incredible way and really, really worked, if you ask me. And for that, it has to be my favorite episode. So let me know in the comment section below. What are your favorite episodes of The Walking Dead? I don't expect all you guys to do a top 25, but I mean, if you want to, knock yourself out. But at least let me know, what are your top favorite episodes of The Walking Dead? Now that the show is over, it's time to reflect, so let me know, and I definitely want to hear some comments from you guys in the comment section below. So, of course, guys, if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed this video, make sure to click the subscribe button so you don't miss any other videos of The Walking Dead. Make sure to follow me on Dan's The Walking Dead Reviews to get more Walking Dead videos like this, and I'll see you guys really soon for more Walking Dead videos. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and peace out.
I've heard stories, walkers that can climb walls and open doors. I was never sure if they were just stories.